I woke up one night and saw her standing at my door. She wasn't moving. She was just watching me sleep. My dad's new wife. When I blinked, she smiled. It wasn't the kind of smile people give when they're happy. It was the kind of smile that tells you they know something you don't, something you won't like. She didn't say anything. She just stood there for a long time before walking away, her feet making no sound on the floor. That was when I knew something was wrong with her. My dad wasn't always the kind of man who looked tired all the time. Before, when my mom was alive, he used to laugh loud, the kind of laugh that filled the whole house. He was young, strong, and he loved my mom more than anything. People said they were like one soul split into two bodies. But death doesn't care about love. I was 10 when Mom got sick. At first it was just coughing. Then the doctors said it was her lungs, then her heart. Nobody gave us straight answers, only bills and more tests. I remember sitting outside hospital rooms while Dad argued with nurses, begging them to try harder. He worked extra shifts, sold his car, even pawned his wedding ring once just to keep her treatments going. But nothing worked. When she finally died, something in him broke. I'll never forget the sound he made when they told him. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't crying. It was something worse, like a wounded animal that knew the pain would never end. After that, he changed. He still cooked for me, still went to work, but he moved like a man carrying a mountain. He stopped going to church. He stopped laughing. Some days he sat outside on the porch all night, staring at nothing. Other days, he drank until his face turned red and he passed out on the couch. Years rolled by like that. I grew up, but it felt like Dad was stuck in the same dark year. People in the neighborhood whispered. Some said he'd never remarry because no woman could ever replace Mom. Others said grief had swallowed him whole. But then one day things shifted. I don't know if it was loneliness or desperation, but he started dressing better again. He shaved more often, combed his hair, even started talking to people after work instead of shutting himself inside. That's when she appeared, the woman who would become my stepmother. And that's where all this begins. When my dad first introduced her, I tried to give her a chance. He said she was kind, that she would make our lives better after Mom left us. I wanted to believe him. He looked so happy, like he finally had someone to lean on. But from the start, there was something about her that didn't sit right with me. She never looked at me the way normal people do. Most adults look at kids with softness, or at least with boredom. She looked at me like she was trying to figure me out, like I was some kind of problem she had to solve. Sometimes her eyes lingered on me a little too long, and I would look away. The first week she moved in, small things started happening. I woke up to find my window open, even though I knew I locked it. My shoes would be in different places. The mirror in the hallway had smudges shaped like handprints, but not the size of mine or my dad's. When I mentioned it to him, he brushed it off. "You're just not used to having someone new around," he said. She probably opened the window for fresh air. But the thing is, I asked her, and she said she never touched my window. At night, I started hearing noises. Not big noises, just small ones that crawled into your skin, the slow turn of a doorknob, the sound of bare feet on tile, the creak of a chair when nobody was sitting in it. Sometimes I thought I heard whispering, but when I held my breath to listen, it stopped. One night I heard her humming. It was low, almost like a lullaby, but the tune didn't sound right. It was off, broken in places, like she forgot how the song was supposed to go. I followed the sound to the kitchen. She was standing there in the dark, humming to herself with her back to me. She was facing the corner, not moving. I asked her what she was doing. She turned around slowly and said, "Nothing. Just thinking." But her eyes looked too wide, and she didn't blink the whole time. Things kept getting worse after that. She started leaving food out for me that I never saw her cook. A bowl of soup steaming on the table when I came back from school, but no pots or pans in the sink. A plate of meat that smelled strange, like iron. When I asked where it came from, she said, "Don't worry, just eat." But I never touched it. And when I came back later, the food was always gone, the dishes washed and put away like it had never been there. Dad didn't notice any of this. He worked long hours, came home tired, and all he saw was a woman who smiled at him, rubbed his shoulders, and kissed his cheek. She was perfect in front of him, but when he left the room, her smile faded. Her eyes went cold, and she would just stare at me. One afternoon, I came home early from school. The house was quiet. I walked past her room and heard her talking softly. The door was cracked and I peeked in. She was sitting on the floor with her back to me, whispering to something in her lap. At first, I thought she was on the phone, but there was no phone. She was cradling something wrapped in cloth. The cloth moved, like something inside was shifting. I couldn't see what it was. She whispered, "Don't worry. Soon. Very soon." I stepped back and the floor creaked. She froze. Slowly, she turned her head toward the door, her eyes landing right on me. I ran before she could say anything. That night, she came into my room. She didn't knock. She sat on the edge of my bed and put her hand on my chest, feeling my heartbeat. She leaned close and whispered, "You shouldn't spy on people. It's rude and dangerous." Then she smiled again, that same wrong smile, and left. I couldn't sleep after that. I lay awake, clutching the blanket, listening for her footsteps. Every shadow in the room felt alive. Every sound made me flinch. Weeks passed, and she grew bolder. I caught her in the backyard once, digging in the dirt with her bare hands. When I asked what she was doing, she laughed and said, "Planting something special." But there were no seeds, no tools, just her fingers covered in soil. Another time, I woke up and found her sitting at my desk, going through my school notebooks. She didn't stop when I asked what she was doing. She just said, "I like to know how your mind works." The scariest moment came one evening when Dad was late. She cooked dinner, and I refused to eat it. She stared at me the whole time, not touching her own plate. Finally, she said, "You don't trust me, do you?" I shook my head. She leaned closer, her voice low, almost like a growl. "Good. You shouldn't." She started watching me even more after that dinner. Not in the normal way people look at each other, but like she was waiting for me to slip up, waiting for me to give her a reason. I could feel her eyes on me when I walked past, when I ate, when I pretended to sleep. The air in the house grew heavy. I started dreading going home after school. I told my best friend about it, but he laughed and said I was just being paranoid. "She's probably just strict," he said. But strict doesn't explain why I woke up one night to find her standing over me again, her hair falling in her face, whispering something I couldn't understand. This time, I didn't pretend to sleep. I shot up and asked what she was doing. She didn't move. She just whispered,